Thanks for the privilege of your time. Welcome to the SALVANT report. My name is LEGRAND, PARISIEN SALVANT. The world is on fire, as you all know. The world is out of balance, and also this world is very corrupt. However, to help you understand the world we live in, the SALVANT report has garnered information from several sources: The Economist, The Hill, The Contrarian, Foreign Affairs, New York Times, Miami Herald, to name a few. In order to help you using this report to shed light on multiple events happening around the world. The US has lost its moral authority. The European democracies have lost also their moral authority. And worst of all, the church has lost its moral authority. That's the reason why we end up with a chaotic world, a world out of balance. And the SALVANT report today is looking beyond the war in the Middle East, the war with the US and Israel started February 28, 2026, attacking Iran. Before we talk about that, 4D Expo TV is inviting you on an evening with Cubano Skasha #1. It's going to take place on Saturday, August 1st, 2026, at the Temple Sinai, which is located in West Palm Beach, 2475 West Atlantic Avenue in Del Rey. For Eventbrite, it will be $100 if you buy it there, $150 per person, and we make it easy on the couples. You pay $200. And if you want more information, you can always call 561-355-2909. Thank you, and we're waiting on you to be part of that evening extraordinaire. Now let's go back to the subject that we want to talk to you about today. It's a new order for the Gulf, the Middle East. And we think that the region must build its own security, not buy it, because they've been buying it for a long time. The US-Israeli war with Iran has put the Gulf state in an impossible position. The American forces, the host, have become the main reason their hotels and energy infrastructure are under Iranian attack. Although Iranian military assets are somehow, according to these people, badly degraded, but we cannot confirm that, Tehran retained the capacity to strike the Gulf, and its grip on the Strait of Hormuz is undiminished. The American president is as likely to take any deal he can call a victory as he is to escalate. Either way, the Gulf states lose. Gulf leaders, you guys, you must stop waiting for Washington to deliver an outcome that serves them and start shaping one yourself. The way out requires abandoning the assumption that has governed Gulf security for a century. That security is a commodity to be brokered rather than a capability to be built. This requires the Gulf states to deal with Iran themselves rather than wait for Washington to do it for you guys, for them. The Gulf state must deal with Iran themselves. A settlement between the Gulf monarchies and Iran should take the form of a treaty in which a phased U.S. military withdrawal from its Gulf bases serves as the cornerstone of a comprehensive regional bargain. The U.S. withdrawal will not be a retreat compelled by Iranian aggression, but a calculated move. Iran, or Iran, depending on who's pronouncing it, Iran has wanted the U.S. to leave the Gulf for decades. To achieve this, along with phased relief from international sanctions, Tehran would offer wide-ranging concessions. Iran must offer wide-ranging concessions. 1. Constraints on its nuclear and missile program, a halt to its belligerence, and move toward diplomatic normalization with its neighbors. Such a systemic reset of intra-Gulf relations will mark the start of a new regional order, what we will call the Gulf Westphalian moment. But settlement alone is insufficient. Gulf militaries must be returned to for war fighting. For decades, the monarchies have outsourced their security to international partners, and their forces reflect that arrangement. Too often, optimized for diplomatic signaling and partnership maintenance rather than the hard demands of regional defense. Gulf leaders, Gulf monarchies, that has to end. You may take your security in your own ends. External patrons betray Gulf interests. You have an illusion of protection. And I give you some example. If we go back to history, the United Kingdom ceded 2/3 of Kuwaiti territory in 1922. Abandoned its allies in Yemen in 1960s. And when withdrawing British forces from the Gulf in 1971, where they had been in one form or another for around 150 years. Washington's record, it's a little better, but in 1979, the United States stood by as revolution consumed Iran, its primary regional partner at the time. During the Arab Spring, Washington provided no support for partners in Bahrain and Egypt. And you're still living in that illusion of protection. In 2019, Washington declined to meaningfully react after an Iranian-backed attack on Saudi Arabia's largest oil refining facility at a place called Abik. In 2025, just yesterday, Qatar, a key U.S. ally, was bombed by Iran and separately by Israel. They stood there, and you still having that illusion of protection. They're going to defend their interests. If it's not in their interests to defend you, you'll be left alone. And the failure of outside protection is just one aspect of a deeper problem. The Gulf states often suffer, much as Europe has, from a lack of seriousness in military affairs, luxuriating instead in the illusion that the United States will protect them indefinitely. As ever, London and Washington made this decision to suit themselves, not the Gulf state. Gulf missile defense operators are efficient and they are proficient, not least because they are among the most battle tested in the world. They are very proficient. In the absence of international patrons to do the work for them, Gulf militaries have proved up to the job. The task now is to generalize the pattern before the next crisis exposes the gaps, and the departure of U.S. forces will concentrate minds and nothing else has. It's now or never. It's detente now or later. Some Gulf officials are pushing for the US to finish the job against Iran, which is wishful thinking. If this is a sentiment captured in the demand voiced privately across Gulf capitals that Washington not stop until Iran can no longer hold the Strait of Hormuz at risk, sustain its proxies, or strike infrastructure with impunity. Washington must finish the job, and guess what? It's wishful thinking. Because the Islamic Republic survived an existential 8-year war with Iraq that wrecked its economy and killed hundreds of thousands of Iranians, decades of sanctions, and Israeli campaign of assassination of senior regime figures. They survive all this. And you think now that is going to change? And you keep on pushing the US to finish the job instead of sitting down, guys, to be thinking for the aftermath of the war and not living in that illusion of protection, thinking that the US is going to protect you indefinitely. All wars end. The only question that we are studying what now, as it relates to the new order for the Gulf, is whether a settlement comes after months or years. Bitter rivals eventually seek accommodation, as Iran and the Gulf states have in the past. Before the current war becomes catastrophic, Iran and the Gulf monarchies should pursue a treaty in which the United States withdraws from its bases in the region in exchange for reciprocal concessions from Iran. Such a treaty would lay the foundation for a new regional order, one in which the Gulf states shape the term of their security rather than relying on patrons whose interests will not always align with their own. A patron just like the US. In French we say patron. A patron just like the US. It's not going to do it for you all the time. A phased US withdrawal over 5 years will remove a structural cause of Gulf insecurity. This will entail the departure of US forces from the major installation in the region. Al Udeid in Qatar, the 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, Al Jaffa in the United Arab Emirates, Ali Al Salem and Camp Arfijan in Kuwait, and Prince Sultan in Saudi Arabia, with infrastructure left intact and a binding treaty obligation to return rapidly should a serious threat materialize. Iranian strategic doctrine sees the American regional presence as an existential threat and the primary target of his deterrence strategy. The Gulf monarchies must stop living in that illusion of protection, because the US will make decisions based on its interests. And we went back and give you some example from the United Kingdom and from the US at some specific time that they made decision not to protect you, not for your interest, but for their own interests. If you, the Gulf monarchies, deal with Iran directly, it will be a win-win. And the Gulf states have the most to gain and the most to lose, and any settlement that excludes them risks becoming a narrower Washington-Tehran bargain or Iran that serve the two capitals' interests. Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates must be principals to the treaty, not observers. You must stop. The Gulf monarchies must stop living in that illusion of protection, thinking that the US or any other country will protect them. And they must build their own capacity to deter Iran. The price for Iran is what 40 years of revolutionary posture and nuclear brinkmanship could not deliver. Sanction relief sufficient to restart growth matters more to the regime than any external military victory. The internal threat from a young, educated, alienated population is more dangerous to the Islamic Republic than a foreign coalition. For Gulf states, the instinct to remain within the US security embrace reflects a century of institutional habit, elite socialization, and the sunk cost of an architecture that has occasionally delivered. But security cannot be purchased from abroad. It must be built at home. Thank you very much for your time. That was the SALVANT report. Until next time, thank you for the privilege of your time.